welcome to the TELUS Virtual Media Center. Michael Couture, a 2-year deal, first signing of the day announced. Michael, in case you missed it, is joining us from Mesa, Arizona. I believe he'll be making his way up here shortly. But thanks for coming aboard, Michael. And we'll start with JJ Adams from Post Media. JJ, go ahead.
Hey, Michael, welcome to BC. Well, first of all, what are your thoughts on coming here? What were the reasons behind it? Just why do you want to join the Lions this year?
I mean, starting off like just as a childhood dream, it's, I grew up as a season ticket holder to the Lions. So since I was a little kid, it was always a dream to play for this team. And to be wanted by this club at this point in my career was really important, and just it kind of all fell together just kind of perfectly for me here.
I heard a interesting story about you moving a certain coach at SFU back in your playing days on the hill, moving boxes, moving furniture. Back with Mr. Kelly Bates. What's it like to be able to come home? You said you were a season ticket holder growing up, and now you'd be in Lions colors. What's that?
It's a dream. I used to be that kid that would run down at the end of games and try and slap hands with the players. And now to have those roles kind of reversed and be in the same stadium that I was a little kid at is really a dream. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. I'll pass.
Yeah.
Gemma, go ahead.
Hi, Michael. Thanks so much for doing this. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's going to be like for you to reunite with Kelly Bates? Have you guys talked at all?
Yeah, we've chatted a bit. It's going to be great. I'm familiar with his coaching. He was my head coach and O-line coach at SFU just for my last season before I got drafted. We got along very well. We kind of see things the same, I like to think. And so I'm very excited to get to reunite with him and have a familiar face, coaching me in a newer environment for me.
And can you talk to me about any other familiar faces you might have around this team? Obviously, we know the CFL is pretty tight, but what do you know about some of the other guys on the O-line, or maybe just in the locker room in general?
First off, Suk Chung is a big one for me. I spent 4 years in Winnipeg with Suk, and every offseason since I've been in the CFL, we train with the same trainer. So I'm with him every week, and so we're very much on the same page with how we go about playing the game. I'm trying to think of who else would be on the team that I've known in the past. Dominic Davis is another guy who's a backup who we just signed, who I was with in Winnipeg earlier on in my career. So there's definitely some familiar faces that it'll be nice to reconnect with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you mention Lucky Whitehead there, Michael? He was the first guy to comment on Instagram this morning.
How could I forget Luck? Absolute character. Yeah, great teammate. Fantastic teammate. I can't wait to see him. How could I forget?
Moj, go ahead. You have one.
Yeah, I mean, one of the keys for you guys' success in Winnipeg was the stability that you had on that offensive line for several years. This looks like, with the changes being made, you coming in, Fig leaving, Godber leaving, this looks like it's going to be a work in progress for at least the first half of the season.
Yeah, I'm ready to build. I like to think I'm a smart player, a tough physical guy. And I know that we have those pieces in this room as well. So, I'm just ready to get to work. And the faster I can do that, I think the better off it'll be. So,
what do you think will be the biggest challenge?
Probably just in the beginning for me is getting on the same page with, the playbook, terminology, and just working as an O-line, like as a unit, because it's 5 guys out there, but really like we all have to work as one. We built that up for years in Winnipeg, and, I think that's something that may just take a little bit of time. But I'm looking forward to it.
What can you take from your Winnipeg experience and bring to BC?
We played a lot of playoff games, a lot of high pressure situations. I feel like I'm a very good communicator under those pressure situations. So I'm excited to bring those pieces.
How much of a factor was it? I mean, obviously coming home is big, but in Winnipeg, you guys had a slogan kind of referred to your togetherness, which I will not repeat for obvious reasons. But I'm sure you probably heard the same stories about BC, about how tight this group was, and how much of a team this was. How appealing was that to you coming back home, knowing that it seems like a very, very good bond of teammates here?
Yeah, that was one of the biggest pieces for me. Is you can see it. You can see how tight the lines have become, especially last year. And again, that's one of the hardest things that for me leaving Winnipeg was the brothers in the locker room. And it's very exciting for me to know I'll be coming into another room, another family, another band of brothers that are doing the same thing. So I'm excited to be a part of that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Welcome to BC.
Thank you.
JJ, do you have a follow-up?
I did. Coming back in. You mentioned you trained with Sook in the off season. Was he doing any off season recruiting to try and get you into BC?
Here and there was some hints, but for the most part, he lets me kind of work through my own process about it. He wasn't about to try and sway me too hard one way or the other. So, yeah.
And last thing here, you mentioned how it's tough leaving that tight group in Winnipeg. What has the free agent experience been like for you? With the legal tampering period and then that space in between, and now signing. Take us through the thought process and what it was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of unknowns going into it. Trying not to be too eager, waiting for that window to come to, kind of see your options. And, you can think up so many scenarios about, what a contract's going to look like from a certain team, or like which team you would like to go to and whatever else. So for me, it was trying to, quiet all the squirrels, I like to say, like that are in my head about, potential outcomes and situations and whatever else. So it's just kind of ironing out what I want and then, transitioning from that to what my options actually are. And so, with BC, like if I wasn't going to play in Winnipeg, to me, I've always said I want to come home and play for the hometown team in front of my friends and family. In BC Place is the next, chapter for me, and it's worked out to be that way. So I'm happy about it.
Well, speaking as someone who spends every Christmas in Winnipeg, the winters here much easier.
Hey, Michael, was it pretty much just between BC and Winnipeg, or did somebody else surprise you and perhaps even offer you more money than BC?
No, actually, I thought there was potential for other offers, but it ended up being down to these two. So
cool.
Yeah.
Hey, just to let you know, seeing how you're a Centennial grad, our color analyst Julio Caravetta is the OC there now, so I'm imagining you're going to be volunteering to come out to a couple of sessions this year.
100%. Yeah, I've got plans for that already, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned it prior to the thing, so I imagine before you went to the waste management, you pretty much had this whole thing signed, sealed, and delivered, you think?
Yeah, I mean, not signed, but everything else before that, it was pretty much completed. It was actually right before the plane was about to take off. My agent gave me a shout and told me that, all the terms looked good and we kind of agreed. So I was getting in trouble on the plane for being on my phone. Was
that taken off, or that was taken off to Phoenix?
Phoenix, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that was good to know before you got down there, because in that environment, I don't know if you'd want to make any critical life decisions at that point.
Yeah, that was my goal, is to have, everything kind of figured out before I was in the air.
Well, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any follow-ups? Jay.
Michael J.
Jano,
Jano
or
from
Global BC. Go ahead, sir.
Michael, congratulations. Was it really just a matter of time before you came back home? Like, was this always on your radar when you became an unrestricted free agent?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I always knew that if I wasn't going to be in Winnipeg, BC is where I wanted to be. We had a great thing in Winnipeg, but I always kind of had in the back of my mind that maybe this would be a place that I'd like to, to be my next chapter. And, I'd love to finish my career here and whatever else. So, yeah.
I love the story that you told JJ about being a lifelong Lions fan, having tickets, running down to slap hands with players. Okay, I remember going to the Grey Cup with my dad and catching a football in the stands, and what a thrill that was. Who was the hand that you slapped that were like, oh my God, I want to be like him, or gave you that starstruck moment as a kid slapping hands with Lions players?
Linebacker Jamal Johnson. He might have been number 28 back then. This is actually crazy. He ran up. He was playing with a broken arm at the time, so he had a club on his hand, and he was trying to get his other glove off, but he couldn't. And so he looked up and he looked right at me. He says, "Who wants my glove?" I went nuts, and so he said, "All right, pull it off my hand." So it was an orange Reebok Kryptonite glove. I ripped it off his hand, and I actually still have it. It's in my closet back home. So that's something I've kept on to. I've held on to for a reason, and yeah, I'll continue to keep that.
Very cool story. Final one for me. How special is it going to be to play at home? And I know you've played here before, as a member of the opposition, but to play in your hometown and to play in a stadium that you basically went and grew up in as a kid. How much thought have you given that?
It's massive. I mean, I have goosebumps just thinking about it. Going there, I grew up, I played GSL in North Van for my Pee Wee football. Then I went to Coquitlam Minor for years after that. And so I've grown up, BC football is what I am. So to be able to run out as a BC Lion is, I mean, it sounds cliche, but a dream come true is literally what it is. So it'll be cool to look up and see the section that I used to sit in, and now seeing it from the different angle, in the middle of the field, it'll be cool.
Very cool. Congratulations. Thanks for the time.
Thanks. Yeah.